these are life things. They're not just for acting. These are human things. These are how to understand yourself, how to understand your emotions, how to, yeah, make a fool of yourself. And it's not that serious. Like, there are lots of parts of life that are not that serious. There are parts that are, and that's important to honor that. But I think we make a lot of things super, super serious in how we're perceived. And yeah, to be able to laugh at that, I think is really important, and a skill that you get to develop and then lose and take yourself way too seriously.
Today on the podcast, we have Greta Brink. I first noticed Greta on Instagram through this viral video. She was falling through what looked like quicksand into the bottom of this pit. And I was like, this is crazy. I got to research more. I started looking into it. She's doing all these stunts. She acts. She's playing music. And so I thought we got to have her on to tell the behind the scenes of some of these stunts that she's worked on. And here she is. Thank you for being on the podcast. Welcome, Greta.
It's funny because it was just like another day on that job. But that job, it's all the stunts were sort of around these characters going through, they were time traveling. So they're getting pulled and pushed out of portals in all sorts of different ways. So it was honestly just another normal day on the
Just
job.
another normal
Yeah.
day going through a sinkhole of
Yeah,
sand.
I'd been on another stage, like doing some flips, and then came back, and they were like, "All right, so you're just gonna pop through there." And so, yeah, we, sent a sandbag through it first, and we're like, "That'll be good."
Do you know what you're like doing each day ahead of time, or is it kind of like, yeah, we're doing a bunch of stunts today, you're going to fall through a sand hole and then some other flips, but we're not going to go through that until they actually like do it? Or do they go through your whole list of what you're supposed to do?
Sometimes, I mean, on it, like when we're rehearsing things, different things might get up, and when schedules change as well, all of a sudden it's like, oh, we don't need to rehearse this anymore. We need to rehearse this gag now. So like it would change day to day. When we're shooting, generally we knew what we were shooting, unless it's a real minor kind of stunt, like you're just going to be doing a dive roll out of something or jumping off something that's not at a lot of height, nothing that you'd need to prep like your stunt pads and stuff for in the morning, because it's good to know what you're going to be hitting and so that you can pad up and protect yourself. But that one, when we were rehearsing, I think they just sort of sorted out what they were going to be doing, or how that rig was going to be working. But we had such an awesome team. I hadn't seen it when it wasn't full of sand, but yeah, we had such an incredible stunt team, but also all the other departments on that job, that kind of whatever we came to, you felt really safe. Like you
Yeah.
just trusted the people around you, which I think is so important, especially when at times you are putting your life on the line. Like I haven't done any really crazy stuff. They might look crazy from the outside, but when you know and you trust your team, it doesn't feel that wild. It might feel, in hindsight, you're like, oh, that was wild. But the stories that I've heard from people who were working back in the day when health and safety wasn't such a big issue,
Yeah, that's
those
true.
stories, I'm like, I don't know how any of you are still alive. Like
Well,
yeah,
that's probably because it was like, I mean, think about like the first few stunts that they were starting to do. They like, I don't know, safe. They were just like, all right, we're gonna try this, and I think
yeah,
you could make that jump. It's like Evil Knievel style, just like we think you could make the jump, or you could
yeah,
probably go through a sinkhole. I mean, it's not a big
yeah,
deal. Let's just try it, and if it doesn't work, we'll figure out what we should do next.
yeah. I mean, what is it, like Charlie Chaplin and those kind of guys? I mean, they were the
Yeah,
original, they were doing all their own stuff, but it's amazing when you watch some of those films and none of it's CGI.
right.
It's insane. And a lot of them, I reckon, they're like one take, fingers crossed that it'll
Yeah,
work.
and I feel like a lot of people now too really appreciate stunts more, like real life stunts, because there's so much CGI. So like
Mm,
when you find out later, like, oh, she did all her stunts, or she did all the stunts for this, or he did all the stunts. It's cool to see that people are still doing it, because you can
yeah,
CGI everything pretty much.
yeah. It's funny because I do think that you can kind of there's a feeling, I don't know, you can tell even with really great CGI, sometimes, and maybe that's because I'm on the side of the stunt performers and I love seeing people do really, really cool stuff. But yeah, I do think you notice it. I think Fall Guy was really useful to put stunts a little bit further to remind audiences, or I mean, it's always really cool to see your department represented on film, and even
Yeah,
when you're
I
seeing
just
people
saw that.
wearing. Did you? Oh, cool. What did you think?
I thought it was great. It was cool because it was like a film inside a film. Like you
Yeah,
got to, it's like a BTS film, but the real thing. So
yeah.
it was really cool to see that. Do you know anybody that worked on that?
Yeah, I'd just done a show in Australia for the first time, filming up in the Northern Territory, which will come out quite soon. And a lot of them had just come off Fall Guy, like all the vehicles guys, or who have all the camera vehicles. Everyone was wearing the Fall Guy merch, all the crew merch and stuff. So yeah, it was quite cool to then also see the behind the scenes that they posted and see these guys, the camera vehicles, because for all those car stunts on the beach and stuff, someone's got to be keeping up with those and the explosions and yeah, no, it was really cool to be like, oh, I know those guys.
That's awesome. Yeah, is it a fairly small knit group, like as far as stunts go, or is there just a large amount of people that do this sort of thing? Like, is it a group that you can kind of be like, oh yeah, I know so and so that did Fall Guy, or is it
Yeah,
sort of
I
spread out still?
I think degrees of separation in film become significantly less and less because especially people who have worked with someone really well known or whatever. But New Zealand, it's really small. I mean, that's how I started because it was so small because I didn't really have the skills that were probably super useful to start. And then bigger in Australia, and then I imagine in the US it's much bigger and much more competitive again to work. But no, I think everybody does start to know everybody or know of everybody because
Yeah.
it's not a super well known profession in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things.
What got you into it? Because I know also noticed you do all kinds of things. You act, you paint. I think that's what it looked
Yeah,
like, at least on Instagram. There was like
yeah.
some charcoal. You sing. I mean, is there anything you don't do?
It's nice to keep busy. Like, this industry is not super consistent, so it is nice in between at the moment. I'm releasing some music, so it's nice to have somewhere to put that creative energy in between
Totally.
a job because I think that's part of what kind of sucks so much. Obviously, you're like, would be lovely to be working and getting paid, but um, I think there's also like it's almost like when you leave a relationship and you've been giving all this love to something and then you leave it and you're like, oh no, I don't know where to put this anymore. So it's nice to be able to allow that to keep moving just in a different way. But I had always known that I wanted to act, and then I grew up with horses, and I had gone and done a gap year after school. We call it a gap year in New Zealand, where you go off and work for a year. And I worked in England with horses, working show jumpers and riding young horses. And then I came back and got the opportunity to work on Mulan, the live action Disney movie.
Yeah.
And there were really big battle scenes happening in the South Island and I got to go down there and work on those. But I remember we were on second unit a lot where we shoot all the generally more of the stunt kind of side of things. And I just remember watching the stunt performers and going, that's so cool. I mean, one, you're doing way cooler stuff than I'm doing because I'm just holding a horse. Like, what are you guys doing? That looks amazing. And
Yeah.
I just happened to ask one of them, Thomas Kiwi, who I owe so much to. I wouldn't be working without him. I just asked if he could train me and he said yes. And so he would, come to my house and he would train me. And I lived on a farm, so I'd give him some lemons and some eggs. And we just,
Good trade.
had this little trade. And, he would have trained me like about 5 times and so lovely. Just some basic stuff, by no means was I sort of ready to be out on set. And then I went off to acting school. And then it was 2020. And so everything shut down in New Zealand, shut down really hard. And at the end of the year, they were still shooting this Netflix show called Cowboy Bebop, and they needed a stunt double for this character, but they couldn't fly anybody in. And I don't know if they had anyone that was sort of the right measurements, because that's a lot of about how you get a stunt job is if you're the right height
Right.
and if you fit the measurements. And yeah, so I got to go and stunt double. I got this text message saying, "Do you want to get your head smashed through a door and jump on and fly over a table?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, that sounds really good."
Nice. You're like, yeah, sign me up. That sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
I was like, "Yeah, absolutely."
especially
So
during
that,
COVID when it was like nothing was going on. You're like, let's do something fun.
yeah, I know. I felt very lucky to get to go and do that job. So yeah, it was super, super fun.
That's amazing. And do you think that it's one of those? I mean, I feel like in the creative industry, it's the more you just kind of put yourself out there and try and network, you get these opportunities. And a lot of it is like who you know and maybe the right time, right place. And so now that that one thing happened, do you think that's what just kickstarted everything for you?
Absolutely. And it's really interesting what you say about networking because I had never sort of tried to get a stunt job. Because I was sort of so focused on the idea that I was going to go off and act, and I kind of just wanted to be an actor that could do their own stunts because I'd always loved the action films and moments in film. Um, and but it honestly started from that, and then there was another coordinator on set who saw me that was was coordinating on a show and was like, oh, she's the right height for this. So it was sort of for me it was very much right place, right time, which is probably shit to hear if you're wanting to um go and do this. But I was just very lucky because I didn't necessarily have the skills either. I was also incredibly lucky to be in New Zealand where there wasn't as many performers as there are in America. Um, and I got to learn a lot of things on the job, which isn't really normal. And so I got really cool opportunities that I was not. I mean, there was a part of me that was ready for, but I think maybe on paper I probably wasn't ready for. But yeah, it
Yeah,
was
but I
just
think that's how it happens, It's like everybody hopes that they're going to get their big break, and I think you you do get lucky a lot of the times. Like
yeah.
I feel like that's happened in my career with film. It's like you just keep doing your thing. Like you said, you put your creativity where you want to put it at the time, and you just keep doing that one thing until somebody sees you or you fall into the next thing that's related to that. Like
Mm,
like music is also a good outlet for you,
yeah.
and I saw that you're releasing a song soon, so that's really cool.
Yeah, it was really funny because it was on Time Bandits. I'd never written any music before, and then there was a lovely friend, Shane Rungy, he's if you search him up on IMDb, you'll be there for a while. He's done so many amazing things, and he also sings and plays the guitar, and we would catch up after work and just jam basically. And then he very kindly bought me a guitar and bought me a little notebook and was sort of like, I think you're writing songs. And it was the most lovely, beautiful permission slip that I think you can get, especially when at the beginning I didn't think I was capable of writing anything. And yeah, and then so it would just sort of tinker around and then wrote a couple of songs. So yeah, I'm releasing a song think in 1 or 2 weeks. Yeah, but
That's
it's really nice
awesome.
as well to, I think, to when you act or when you perform in film, unless you're sort of the director, the producer, the showrunner, you're not in control of what this is going to look like in the end creatively. And so it's really nice to be the creative director of something and go, oh no, I hold the essence of whatever this is, and I understand where it is that this needs to go, or I get to decide that. And that's really fun. And then it's really fun to be the vessel and to listen to and help other people create what they want to create. But I think it's nice to find that thing that you can have for you to be able to, yeah, fully be there.
Yeah, that makes sense too. I like how you said it's a permission slip to get to create. And I think so many people are worried to like put out like music if they're not a musician or try and act
Yeah,
if they're not an actor. It's too many people are scared of like what other people will think. And I think if you're interested in something like music or acting, you have to try it. Like you can't go your
yeah.
whole life thinking like, oh, I wish I tried that. You might not be the best musician, but it's good to try it and have control over your narrative, like you said.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it is really interesting because things like music, or whenever you create something, it's really vulnerable. But I think we confuse the vulnerability for it being wrong, like that fear feeling.
Right.
And I don't think that necessarily equates to that. I think it is just because you're bearing a part of your soul in some way. And that's very different to doing stunts, and like throwing yourself against something, which can be scary in a different way. But yeah, it's it's the like physical danger versus like bearing a bit of yourself and going, oh, people have the right to comment on it and to like or dislike it. And it's sort of what I learned from that video going viral, because it was kind of lovely because I have sort of nothing to do with it in a way. Like there's a whole team that has created this amazing rig, and then I have my stunt team. I'm just the hamster that, got
No,
the
I
guinea
mean,
pig that
you
got
worked your
put
way
through
up
it.
to that.
Yeah, but but then it's really interesting. So you put that out there, and people have lots to say because they're confused. They think I'm in a grain silo. They think I'm going to die. They, all sorts of stuff. So it's
It's
really
crazy
interesting.
looking.
Yeah, to watch people comment, and it's interesting to think, oh, if I release something that, or I put something out in the world that I've sort of created, and people have something to say about it, where do I sit with that? But I think, yeah, it goes to how confident are you in the essence of whatever that is, and why ever you need to put it out there. And then I think it kind of soothes it a little bit.
Yeah. And it's also fun to see how people react. Like if you've never written a song, go try it and see how people, like some people are going to like it, some people won't, but like you start getting that feedback, and then maybe you get the courage to do the next song, or you get the courage to go out for that acting part or make that film or paint or something. Like you just,
Yeah,
I think everybody has an option to do something, some sort of creative thing. It's just that people are worried, you know, and it's too bad because there are a lot of people out there, I think, that just wait and never get that opportunity. But it's cool to see that you're doing the music thing, the acting thing. And what do you paint all the time, or is that just like a one
that
time
was,
thing that I saw on Instagram?
I definitely like to do more. That was for, I've got a song. It's really cool. It's been put in a TV show, which is called the song's called Road to Hell, and it's sort of, it has Western influences in it, and I see it sort of occurring in a desert, and yeah, so kind of I wanted to paint something for the single artwork basically, and
That's
yeah,
cool.
came up with that image, which I felt really sat well with the song. So yeah, it was really fun, but it was also, it was such a fun time to do that because I had help doing it, and we just listened to great albums and talked and painted this thing, and it was really, really cool. It's fun how these creative endeavors can look. You can be doing them by yourself, and that can be really, you can learn a lot, but it's also really fun to share that with other people. And yeah, it's almost the memories around creating the image that are more dear to me than the image itself. Like I'd love to sell, I've written my lyrics on the back of the image and would love to sell it at some point. But yeah,
Yeah. It's also like you said, creating with people is part of the real story, like
yeah.
making that thing, making that film, being in that movie. It's like the stories you probably have about like getting ready for certain stunts or being in those movies is so much more than like people are like, oh, you were in Time Bandits. Oh, I think you were in Sawtooth as well.
Oh yeah,
Or
sweet
Sweet
tooth. Yeah,
Tooth,
yeah,
Sweet
yeah,
Tooth.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry.
No,
And
you're
it's
right.
like the stories you have behind that are probably so cool and so much more of an experience for you and your career than, I mean, it's great to be in those things, but would you say that the stories behind these things that you're in are really what creates the moment?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's those. I, I mean, it's really cool to get to be in big projects, but yeah, it's absolutely the stories and the memories that you created with people, whether you're, all together on a night shoot, or I mean, Time Bandits was incredible for that kind of thing because we just had such a great group of stunt doubles, and we did a lot of the stunts together. So everything we had to figure out how to work around each other and all that. But then it was also amazing. My stunt coordinator was Zoe Bell, and so after work, I'd just be sitting in her office listening to these sort of incredible stories from the different shows that she had worked on. And part of it was so cool because, they were amazing films, like Kill Bill and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was the stories of like, yeah, getting ready for the stunt or what happened on the day or that behind the scenes stuff or just funny little anecdotes. And yeah, I think that's what makes it so much more fulfilling. It's really cool that you're working on a job, but it's almost like that's the part for your ego where you get to tell other people or share with your family and friends and go like, yeah, I did this, and they think you're really cool. But yeah, what is so special and why I love this is working with the people and all of everything that that brings.
Yeah. I think that's any sort of creative field. It's the people behind the projects. It's like every time you get to meet somebody new on a new film, or for what we do, we film on location and we meet new
Yeah,
people through clients, and it's just, you tell stories when you're on those sets and you learn things about people. And I think that's what attracts me to this space of like creativity and film, is just like learning about people, because nowadays everybody's just stuck in their phones. I mean,
yeah,
I'm guilty of it, but it's just like we're so stuck in this digital world that like interacting with real people is amazing.
yeah. And I think it's a lot of the time I feel like I'm on school camp when I'm on a film, especially when you're on location, because you're getting shuttled around in a van and you're wearing a funny costume and you're with all sorts of different people. And I think that's when I first did Mulan. I think I was pretty lucky. My first ever set was a Disney set, so it was massive.
Yeah.
And I was just in awe by the fact that all these different people with all of these different skills and talents from all different walks of life were coming together to make this thing. And I just thought that was the most amazing thing ever. And it's interesting what you say about phones because some sets, you can't have your phone out on set, and
Okay.
I think that's really great when that happens. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. I'm absolutely guilty of it when at some point you're just fried or you just sort of can't anymore. It's kind of safer to vegetable into your phone a little bit. But
Yeah, it's like a safe space.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I know that, but then yeah, I do also really love when you're somewhere where the director doesn't like to have phones out, and it's so nice just the things you notice, and to get a little bit bored, or you make a game with someone, or you do whatever, or you see something that you wouldn't see, and that's
Yeah.
yeah.
I think if you create boredom too, I've noticed, at least for myself, that's when you start to think of new ideas and new things. You like create this space in your mind that you were filling before with just like random stuff. And now you have boredom. And sometimes, I mean, probably for writing music and writing songs, that might be really helpful. Is just like sitting, whether it's outside or sitting in a space and just like thinking.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think people have definitely said it before, but boredom is sort of the seed of creativity, or I guess lays the ground for creativity to happen. And it's always really interesting where your mind goes when you're bored. The thoughts that you would normally dismiss, or yeah, there's something, and whether that is to go and make something or just curious about life. I think with our phones, we have found a way to make our world smaller, even though we think we have reached to more, which
Mm,
is yeah, interesting because I guess with your algorithms, you're sort of seeing the same things that you would see, and you're just sort of getting further and further down this track of seeing these sorts of things when there's so many other moments or th- things to capture, but just for your
yeah,
mind, and whether that is going to be something for later or whatever. But it's yeah, all of those moments that I'm rambling here, but yeah, that
I
you
like
kind of
it.
miss.
No, I get it. Yeah, you're creating, I mean, when you're in your phone, you're creating this like silo effect of just seeing the same thing over and over. So I get it. You're making your world smaller.
Hmm.
And so it's actually, it hurts your creative process and thinking about other things. And I totally agree. Do you think
It,
there's ever been a time where you can't create? Is there something that, is there like a go to? Like if you're like wanting to be creative, do you like go for a walk? Do you like go outside? Do you play the piano? Like what's your outlet if you're like, I can't think of anything right now?
I think sometimes one, I'll let myself be there, and it's like, okay, well, maybe you just don't have to think of anything. I don't put any pressure. I know that inherently I am creative, and it's not something I worry about losing, which is really nice. But I think all people are inherently creative. I think doing a stream of consciousness writing where you'll just fill up 8 pages with writing, and you might even end up drawing a picture or something, but just let whatever is in your mind or whatever feels stuck or whatever is, write down what is scaring you about not being able to create all of that, put it on a piece of paper, because I find that when we're thinking about things, we'll leave thoughts in a really negative place where you wouldn't leave it if you're in a conversation or if you've written it down because you see it. Whereas when you're thinking, you just go, oh, anyway. It's like, no, that's a really bad place to leave that. I don't think you should leave that there at all. And so that can be really helpful. But yeah, going for a walk and going without your phone. I mean, I'm bagging my phone. I get been inspired by many things that I see on my phone, but I do think it's useful. Go for a walk and or just sit and listen to what you hear. Name all the different sounds that you can hear. I always find that really helpful. And then recently, I guess it's like you shift the energy, do things that you've never done. I've really wanted to play the piano and I bought myself a keyboard, but I was far too scared to try it because I was going to be a beginner and I was going to suck. Like that was inevitable. And I really didn't want to suck. I wanted to be really good, but I wasn't going to be able to be really good from not playing before. And so I would set a timer. And it's been really interesting. I would set a timer and just make sounds for half an hour. And even doing that was kind of scary because I'd go, oh, I'm going to make bad sounds and I'm not going to like it. And I'm going to hear something I want to play, but I don't have the skills yet to play it. And it's really amazing just sitting with different sounds. Oh my God, that one feels really suspenseful and now it's gone here, and just letting your mind wander. I think it's getting back to more of a childlike state and just being in awe of things. I think that's where creativity, one of the places creativity starts, whether you're in awe of emotion that you feel that it is so amazing, or it's like, I cannot believe that I can feel this bad, or whatever it is, or I cannot believe the sound, or just, yeah, being in awe of life, being in awe of sound, being in awe of your senses. I think that taking things to basics, I think, would be at the core of what all of that is.
Yeah, and getting to play again, like you said,
Yeah,
like a kid, because it's almost like we grow up and we're told like, all right, now it's time to be serious and
yeah.
can't do that. And then once you start to play again or like set a timer and just play noises, like you're going to learn at some point. Like you're going to learn a lot better than not doing it and hoping that you're really good. But it sucks to not be good at something. I know that feeling because you're like maybe your friend plays the guitar or the piano and you hear it and you're like, I wish I was that good. But you don't play ever, so you can't be that good.
No, or you
But
see
it
someone on social
sucks.
media and they sound
Yeah.
amazing because they've been playing since they were 5, and then you also go,
Yeah.
I'm not 5. I'm so much older than 5. It's too late, and
Yeah.
all of
It's
that
too
kind of
late.
thing. Yeah, but I think there's something really humbling about being taken back to, yeah, being a beginner at something as well and having to learn something again. But I mean, I think it's amazing for your brain. But I think everything that you learn, whatever those skills are, they will apply to all the other areas in your life. So I think you're always then expanding and benefiting all of those,
Yeah.
the other things that you do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like you can expand on different skills, even if it's not like if you are an actor, but then you start playing the piano, like it could help you like further your acting skills somehow, like just
You might
thinking differently
understand,
or
yeah, the musicality of a scene.
yeah, exactly. Like the flow of how the scene is. It's I've always wanted to act. That's like my
Oh,
secret. I've
cool.
always
Have you
wanted to
done any
act.
acting classes?
No, I've never done it. So I'm
You
like,
should.
I suck at it, and it's because I've never done it. So I know
I know this.
I need to try it at some point. I think that's one thing that I've always held back from doing. Like I'm usually on the other side of the camera directing or filming, and I would love to try it. And I don't know why I want to try it, but it looks fun.
I
That's
don't
all
think
I
you
can
have to
say.
know why. I don't think you have to know why you want to try it. I think it's always great to follow those little threads that just there's like a
Yeah.
little part of you that goes, I want to do this. But I'd so recommend doing some improv classes and stuff, especially where it allows you to be super childlike and super free. I do these theater, workshops that kind of don't necessarily really apply to the kind of acting that I want to do, but they just shake everything up and they turn
Mm.
everything on its head, and I have to be so okay with constantly being, making a fool of myself and get really comfortable with that. And I found that's incredibly useful because the actors that I've watched who have come on set, they have this ability where they kind of just don't care. And I think part of it comes from being able to do that. So yeah, I'd so recommend doing some improv classes where you just have to like think, or you don't even get a chance to think. You just have to let yourself do whatever you kind of feel to do
Yeah.
in that very, very second. Your brain doesn't get to catch up and go like, no, that's really dumb. We shouldn't do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that stuff.
Improv looks scary though. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. It looks scary because it's like, all right, here's the prompt. You got to do this. And you're like, I don't want to do that. So it feels like diving off the deep end and not knowing what you're doing. But I guess that's the best
exactly.
way to learn. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
did some, I didn't really, it wasn't really acting, but back in like middle school, we did like a creative program where we had to like, they would hand us like a pencil and you'd have to figure out like, what is this for? And you'd be like, oh, it's like a flagpole for ants. Like you'd
Oh,
have to
I
like come
love
up with
that.
weird ways to use something so simple. And you'd go around a table, and it was a creative program that you would compete with other teams. So you'd do that. And then we had like a small acting part too. So you would do a little bit of that. And I think that's how I got my start into like being into like film and creativity, was like in middle school, and just like having fun with it.
Oh, that's awesome. There's
Yeah.
another that reminds me, there's this game. Can you curse on your podcast
Yep.
or
You
do you
can
avoid it?
say whatever you want. Nope.
Well, there's a game, it's called Bullshit. And it all starts with I was walking to the bus, and you do it with somebody else, and you say I was walking to the bus, and they can say bullshit at any point they want in the story, and you have to change it. So you go, okay, I was walking to the airport, and you sort of have to do it really quickly so you don't get a huge chance to think about it. And you can end up on an airplane next to a lady who has a bag full of geese, and the story just goes on and on and on. But it just, again, it's one of those things that shakes up how you were thinking. You kind of don't think in a linear way anymore. You allow anything. It's like, and then we were on Mars, but then we didn't get in bullshit. Okay, well then we were in Seattle, and and it just goes and goes and goes. And I think, yeah, it shakes everything up, and there's no dumb ideas, there's no wrong ideas, and I think that's really important to
Yeah.
just be able to go,
It's kind of like improv, but like with
yeah,
storytelling. I love that.
yeah, yeah.
I've
I
never
find
played
it
that. That's
really
pretty cool.
useful. I, I I made my dad play it at the airport, and he didn't really want to play it, and I was like, no, I'll do it again. We're going to
You,
the bus.
you have to. Yeah. I think people don't want to play games like that because it makes them feel like they're stupid or something. Like, oh,
Absolutely.
I don't want to play this game where like you think everything I'm saying, like I have to say something different. But that's the whole fun of it, is like how quickly does your stream of consciousness work, and like what can you come up with?
Absolutely. I think that's the gift of actors and anybody who does something that is, I guess, different, that you're asked to look at yourself, and to really reflect on yourself often because you're playing different people. And in order to play different people, you need to know who you are, and but then also you're asked to, yeah, think in these different ways and to shake things up, and it allows you to see the world differently and allows you to see things from so many different perspectives. And there's a lot of things that I remember I was taught at acting school that I thought it would be great to have been taught this in normal school. Like these are life things. They're not just for acting. These are human things. These are how to understand yourself, how to understand your emotions, how to, yeah, make a fool of yourself. And it's not that serious. Like there are lots of parts of life that are not that serious. There are parts that are, and that's important to honor that. But I think we make a lot of things super, super serious in how we're perceived. And yeah, to be able to laugh at that, I think is really important, and a skill that you get to develop and then lose and take yourself way too seriously. But I think you're allowed more time to discover and experiment that when you're doing those sorts of professions.
That makes sense. I think I liked how you say it should be a part of school. And I think it's so true. Like there should be more things like photography, film, acting. That should be more into curriculums because you learn how to just be yourself. And I think being yourself allows you, like you said, to understand your emotions and how to act just in life. And it allows you to not take yourself so seriously because we go, like, at least in the US, like, school is pretty serious. Like, when you're in school, there's no fun, really. It's like they don't want you to do anything that's not serious. Everything has to be taken very formally serious. I think we lose that, like, fun aspect. And it's like, I don't know.
You lose
I
it
don't know
quite
how you would
early.
change it. Yeah,
Yeah,
you do.
that's
I
so
don't know how you would
interesting.
change that. Like, do you implement it in schools? I know they have some schools now in the US where you can go and learn a different way. Like, I think they're all private schools, but you can
Mm.
learn business and learn all these things because there's a lot of things in life we don't learn at all in school. And then you just go out on your own and you have to know how to do all these normal everyday things.
I know. Yeah, you think like if this is going to be such a big part of life, it would have been great to have a class about this, or we have terms, so like, yeah, a term on this to learn about this. No, you're right. I find with New Zealand, and I've been out of school for a little bit now, but I find my school was very focused on success and succeeding, and definitely what I went off to do, they weren't so sure about. So I basically said, I'm going to go and work in film. And they were sort of like, oh, could you go and get a business degree and then
Right.
maybe come back to that? But I was very stubborn. But I also didn't know how on earth I didn't know how I was going to go about that. But I was just very sure. I spent all my study periods watching the behind the scenes of Game of Thrones and basically any show that had behind the scenes and like quite good detail behind the scenes. That's all I cared to watch. I didn't really even care to watch the show as much. I just wanted to see what was happening. I wanted to know what it was like to be on set.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find in New Zealand there's definitely like a very success is important, but I think they have more fun, and fun I think is probably the key word because the fun is what lightens you up and kind of allows you to be. But I think we have a way of like severing the fun really early on, and
Mm,
once you've passed a certain age, you kind of can't have fun like that, or you have to have adult
yeah.
fun, and we've sort of okayed these sorts of things that are considered, this is cool, you can go and do this. But it's so important for your creativity, and for what we do. But I remember I was on a show, and my boss said having fun, being a professional, and I think that element is sort of lost a little bit. Wherever you get so serious about what you're doing, it's like part of why you're doing this is because you loved it, and I imagine part of why you loved it was because it was fun. And we sort of have a way of sucking that out. It's sort of you get to a certain age, and it's like, all right, maybe it's like it's past 7 or maybe 10, and after that, yeah, it's like you can only have fun in like sports where it's competitive, but it's sort of you still got to keep that really serious because
Yeah.
there's a career out of it. But also, what's the point of having a career if you're not having a good time at times? It's
Right.
not
And there's
all
so many
sunshine.
people.
But yeah,
So many people do that. They seem miserable, to be honest. They're in that same thing that they've been doing forever. And because they were told, go to school, get a business job, and like just focus on this one career. Not everybody has to love what they do. I've heard that so many times. People are like, you don't have to love what you do for work. I'm like, you spend most of your time working.
gotta love
I mean,
elements of it.
yeah, you gotta love something of it. Like, if you don't like it at all, if there's no interest, you should find something else.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean work should be fun and parties all the time, but if
no.
you don't like it, you gotta find something else.
Yeah, I even think within stunts, I think people have a bit of a misconception that, it's always like getting thrown across the room and like in a harness and it's all super cool. Like it's not it's not glamorous at all actually, but it is there's
It
a
looks
lot
pretty
of
fun.
there's a lot of really fun elements and I'd have a lot of mornings where I'd be up at 3 a.m. getting ready for work, but kind of giggling to myself because I felt really, really lucky to get to do
Right.
what I was going to do. And, for that, again, if, say my call time was 5, I would be at the gym at 3 a.m. because we were jumping off things. And you're like, you got to protect your knees, so I need strong legs, got to protect my back, so I need a strong core. So, you're at the gym and long, long, long days. And that's not glamorous. Like I've been part, lots of it is fun-ish, but then sometimes it's not. And then, sometimes you're really uncomfortable. Sometimes that's what you are as a stunt performer. You're kind of there to be in the more physically uncomfortable situation, whether it's like it's freezing cold and you're the one in the water doing the thing, or it's super, super hot and the costumes, there's a lot of layers to it and you're really, you've just got harnesses, you'll have your layers and then a harness and then your costume and then, and all these different things. Or you're just, yeah, in strange situations. And sometimes that's the job. And it's not really fun, but figuring out sort of how to make the most of it is definitely a skill that you learn. But, and they
Yeah.
can be really long days, but so it's not always like, oh my God, aren't we just all having the best time? But there's also a lot of situations that you can laugh at. But yeah, there's still plenty of elements of fun that you go, like, yeah, this is why I want
Yeah.
to do.
Do you
I
have
feel like,
moments?
sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say, do you have moments when you're like on set and you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is so cool. Like
Yeah,
this is amazing. Like
yeah,
you must have those moments, right? Where you're
yeah.
like, this, like, you have to sit back for a second and be like, I made it here. This is so crazy.
Sometimes it's onset and then sometimes it's hindsight because you're sort of too wrapped up in what you're doing and focused on what you're doing. But yeah, there were lots of jobs, especially on that show Time Bandits. We I think as well what was so cool is that you were getting to share it because the other
Mhm.
doubles were doing the same thing. So you're not just sort of to yourself. It was with everybody. We were just getting to get thrown around in a harness. It's like being in a jolly jumper when you're a kid, or when
Yeah.
you get to go on those trampolines and you're in a harness, and you're like, and I got paid to do this. So sometimes you're like, this is so silly. Or there was a day where because they were going through portals, we call them magic carpets. When you're a kid, someone might put like a piece of tarpaulin or a rug behind a quad bike, and you'd get like
Yep.
pulled around on it, be like a kid's party game. Well, we were on like the top of a hill, and our riggers had made this sort of, I think it had a whole lot of plywood, and we were sitting on that, and then they were pulling it down the hill, and the characters had to like slide into this portal, and so we just got pulled down a hill all day, and it was just
That's
like it was
awesome.
so silly, but it was so fun, and I can't believe today, you go to like call your mum. Yeah, no, today I just got pulled down a hill all day and got paid for it. It was really fun,
Yeah.
like just super
Right.
chill. Or yeah.
That's awesome. Is there anything that you're really excited about, like looking forward to at the moment? Like, is it your music? Is it maybe your next stunt job? Is there something that you're looking forward to right now?
I am really excited about the music because it's territory I've never been in before, and to learn about a whole new industry. And I definitely had the things. I'm started way too late. I have no idea what I'm doing, and all of those. But I am really excited to sort of release this song and then to make more music and do that. I'm really looking forward to moving into more acting and getting to play with that and getting to do roles where there is more action involved and get to live that character fully, to get to do their day-to-day stuff or all their other scenes and their action and get to have that experience. I got to do that sort of recently. There's a TV show called Territory, which will come out on Netflix, and I got to act in it and do my own stunts, and
That's so cool.
that was really fun to be like, oh, this is all of this. I get this. I understand this, and I got to ride horses, and yeah, it was really nice. To go, all these things that I do get to come together, like and really cool to know that there are roles where all of these elements get to come together, and you get to do all these things that you love doing. So that was really cool. So I'm excited for that show to come out as well. And
Yeah. When does that come out?
I believe it's October 24th. It's definitely
Cool.
October. Yeah.
Awesome.
So that'll
That's
come
so
out on
cool.
Netflix, which is really cool. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's
the
cool.
music,
Yeah. Are you planning on more music? Do you think more songs? Have you
yeah,
been writing more?
yeah, definitely. We're making more songs. My friend, who's my music producer, his name's Ethan Duke. He is fantastic in being able to translate because I don't have a musical background. I will sound something out on the guitar and I'll come with the song written and I'll come to him and I'll go, right. So it's happening outside a phone booth and it's very sad. And he'll be able to translate what I'm saying into instruments and an arrangement. And yeah, so I feel very lucky to have him. But yeah, definitely more songs coming. It doesn't feel like a choice so much, which is cool, which is fun. It feels like a necessity or I can't not.
Yeah. And what, so the thing that got you into music and creating songs was when you were on set for that show and you were playing.
Yeah, basically, yeah, after work. I think because stunts sometimes does lack the creativity that you get. There's a lot of you're sort of, you point and shoot, you get told, right, so you're gonna go over here and you're gonna hit that and you're gonna do that and you're gonna fall over here or something. What is really fun is to get to embody on that show. Those characters were really, really physical and it was quite clear character acting. So getting to do that was really fun, but I still didn't get to have that outlet that I needed. And so that I think that's where the music sort of manifested from.
That's awesome. And do you think that music would ever, like, if you had to pick one or the other, do you think you would go the music route or would you stay acting? Like, if you had to pick one, which one would you pick?
I honestly don't know if I could. I think they provide such different things, and I love both
Yeah,
elements of them. I guess I could get away with making music videos more like short films and then
true.
get to
Yeah.
act within that. Um, but yeah, they serve such different parts of me.
Mm,
And
yeah, I get
yeah,
that. I think the music thing is so I've always had so much interest in creating music and making music. And I play the guitar a little bit and
oh,
there's
cool.
just something about it that just it's almost free flowing. It's like drawing or sketching and there's something nice about it. I can't draw, so that's kind of maybe why I like that instead. And I think music has always been a good outlet for any sort of creative venture.
Do you feel like it gives you that flow state kind of feeling?
Yeah, I think like you said, you just like I'm not skilled at all. Like I can play a little bit like chords here and there, but I think making sound, like you said, and just going with it allows you to just kind of play again. And it's fun. I think that's the part. Like I played in a band in middle school and
Ah,
so it was like that like kid play type stuff and it was just fun. And so maybe that's why I do it from time to time. It reminds me of like when I just didn't care as much and didn't care what people thought. And so maybe
yeah,
that's what the outlet is.
yeah. I think that, yeah, I so agree with that. And I think it's really interesting, which is something to keep in mind a little bit when you are making something. You don't almost want to think too far ahead about who's going to see it yet. You want to allow it to grow in this sort of safe environment first. And I think that's really nice when you are, just playing around and it's for no one other than you. It's for no one other than your pure enjoyment of your getting to hear this and then whether you want to record it or not. But yeah, I think it's
That's
important to
awesome.
make just for yourself sometimes.
Yeah, I think the more you do that, the more you learn about yourself too. You make for yourself, you learn about yourself, and then you further your skills, whether it's your people skills, your acting skills, or music in general. I think doing those, having that outlet allows you to just further the person you are.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely
Do,
agree with that.
So do you plan on staying in New Zealand for most of your career or do you think you're going to try and like move your career to another country or does that seem like cuz I know you're in Australia now, are you there just for a film? Are you there just for fun?
I'm there just for fun and family. I've got some family over here at the moment. But Australia has a really cool scene, so I'd love to do more here. I loved shooting that show that was shot in the Northern Territory and in Adelaide, so it was beautiful to see. I think one, I just love being on location, so loved getting to do that. But I love New Zealand, but I am looking at going to the UK next year, and then I'd love to come over and have a look at LA and that kind of. I quite like being a bit nomadic. I like having bases in lots of places. It's good to have friends in lots of places.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd love to work in lots of different places. I think
Yeah,
that's part
that's
of the fun.
yeah, it's part of the fun and it's part of that like scene you're in of acting. It's like the more places you can be, the more opportunities you'll have too. Like maybe there's more stuff going on in Australia, so it's good to be there for a year while everything develops, and then somebody has a job in the UK, and it's cool to be able to bounce around like that.
Yeah, I think yeah, especially I mean, I don't have kids. I don't I you know I'm in that time where it is really easy to you can just bounce around. If you have a passport in your suitcase, you're good to go. And then visa stuff,
Yeah,
but like,
I would take full advantage of that because I think some people don't end up doing that and they regret it. So I think I would travel as much as you can and see the places you want to see. I know I did a lot of that before I had kids, and it was cool. It was cool to see that. I'm not saying I won't go see it ever again, but
yeah,
I love like Japan, Scotland,
yeah,
Brazil, Argentina, Chile. I have not been to Australia or New Zealand. Both are top on my list. I want to snowboard in New Zealand.
yeah.
That's what
New Zealand's New Queenstown is really beautiful. I did a movie down there and it was great. I was literally just riding on it, so I got to, I was paid to show up and get on a pony and just ride in the most beautiful locations. Like it looked like Queenstown in fall is. I mean, it just constantly taking my breath away. Everywhere I looked, it looked like a beautiful landscape painting. I just, I was in awe. Um, but yeah, Queenstown is really beautiful to ski and yeah, New Zealand is a really beautiful. There's a there's a freshness and a really grounded, beautiful kind of clean energy that you
yeah.
find there. It's a very special place. I feel very lucky to have grown up there.
Yeah, it seems like a hidden gem that like everybody wants to go to, but it's so, especially from the US, it's so far
Yeah,
that it's like this magical place where all like it looks so nice, and it does. And I think someday I'll have to go because it's it just, even just the pictures I see it and I'm like, it looks like a dreamland. I mean,
yeah.
it's like coast, and like you said, it has that clean energy feel, just mountains and ocean, and has all the like fun adventure stuff.
Yeah, definitely a great adventure place. I think I was recently in Canada at the beginning of the year, and there's bits I think people kind of compare the two. I mean, they're still hugely different, but it has sort of like the mountains and then the coast. And I mean, because it's not a very big country, so the mountains aren't
Yeah.
hugely far away from the coast, and beautiful rivers and lakes, and yeah, beautiful, beautiful nature. I think it's a place like to go in the New Zealand bush is a really grounding and quite profound experience. There are trees there that are so old. We've got these Cody trees and they're huge and they're beautiful and there's something really, really humbling about them. And I think it's really good to be humble. We're so good at dominating as humans. We build our cities and make everything available for us. And then I think it's really good to be humbled by nature.
Yeah, and it's easy to do in wilder places. I know I've seen that in Brazil when I went. You go out in the forest and it's like
Yeah.
everything is dangerous around you. You're not sure what to touch, what not to
Yeah.
touch, and it does. It humbles you. You're like you're used to like nice places to sleep, and like you go out in the wilderness and you're out there. It's beautiful, but you also have to be careful of wherever you are because it's wild, but it humbles you, like you said. And I think it's really great for people to experience.
Yeah. I had that in the Northern Territory, like being in the outback, which I'd never been, and now I feel like I've seen Australia because it's it's like the red dirt and dingoes and crocodiles and so many different snakes that can kill you and so many huge spiders. Like in New Zealand, nothing wants to hurt you. New Zealand is very
Which is
chill.
why I like New Zealand better.
And then like just across the way is Australia, but it was really, yeah, there was something awesome and like the really old sense of the word awesome to be in that environment where you're like, this was not made for me. There's a way to
Yeah,
work with this environment, but it's not a city, it's not a town, it's not a suburb. It wasn't made for my existence. It's made to be
right.
worked with and to sort of understand what you can. And yeah,
Australia has so many dangerous things. I feel like
so
everything
many
there can
things.
like that's I love looking at pictures of Australia and I would love to visit, but all I can think of is like there's spiders, snakes, sharks, crocodiles. I'm like the only place that sounds safe is maybe in the city. I don't know. There's like snakes that can kill you. I'm all set. Like where I live, there's no snakes that can kill you, or supposedly there's no snakes that can kill you. I don't know.
Fingers crossed.
It seems like a scary place, Australia.
I was definitely, I lived here for a lot of last year, and when I came over, I think I was quite nervous that every turn it would be like massive spider, like huge snake,
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, I think it's more when you get like a little bit more rural, and again, it's not so. It depends where you are in Australia. Like at the top end in the Northern Territory, that's where all your huge saltwater crocodiles are, and that's where there's a lot of bodies of water that you wouldn't necessarily want to swim in or get too close to. But yeah, I think you got to know where you are and know what death is available in that region, and then make your choices.
Death is available in that region. I love that.
Make
Yeah.
your choices by that.
It's true though. You think of like one place, like Brazil, for instance, like everything is dangerous. And then I go there and I'm like, oh, it's really the Amazon has all the animals that are crazy dangerous. The rest of it, like there's elements that are dangerous, but it's not like huge spider here, snakes here. Like you said, it's only in the northern part. So
You expect it to almost be like a video game where you've like got to constantly be.
yeah,
It's just things
you're like
constantly coming at you. And
you're like jumping everywhere. Yeah.
like, oh, it's actually not like that.
Where's one place that you would like to go? Like one place you'd love to visit that you haven't been yet?
Oh, so many.
What's the
There's
top one
so
though? If
many.
somebody was like, you could go there tomorrow, like what's that spot?
Tomorrow, I think it would be somewhere in Greece that is
Mm,
not well known, overly touristy populated,
Gre-
I think.
Greece looks
That,
awesome.
but then, yeah, I mean, there's also so many places that I'd love to go and film it. There's lots of locations I'd love to work in because I
Yeah.
think it's such like to get to live somewhere for a minute is really, that's what I love about film is that you get to have that sort of circus feeling where like the whole from packs up and goes somewhere
Yeah.
and
Because how long do you usually stay in a location? Like, I guess it depends on the length of the movie, but like
yeah,
time, the time bandits, how long were you there for?
that was just under 7 months in the end, but we had Christmas in the middle, so you went home for that. But that was we shot that in Wellington in Stone Street Studios, and that was cool because I'm from Auckland, and it's just so much fun to live in another city for that amount of time as well. I think to be somewhere for 3 months is a really nice amount of time where you can kind of learn what that life is. You maybe do the touristy things or you see some things, but you understand what a day in the life looks like in this environment, and that I think is really fun.
Yeah. 3 months seems like a good amount of time to see the area and learn more about the culture. I think that's what I love about traveling is like
Yeah,
learning how other cultures do things, like how they do dinner or lunch and how they go about their day. Like everybody in different countries has a different way to do something that's so simple.
yeah,
And it's cool to see that the rituals people do. Like I noticed a lot in Europe and in South America that family is so important that they do a lot of meals together. And I found that so refreshing because in the US, it's not done as much as it used to be. So it's really refreshing to see that other countries are still doing this, like, come eat lunch as a family. We all live close by. Like, that's cool. It's cool to see
Yeah,
different cultures and how they live.
I think it's so interesting as well. Things that you thought were so universal are not. Like what you're saying,
Mhm.
those day-to-day things that you're like, wait, I just believe that that this was one thing that we all believe this one was to be true, that we all do this thing. I think that's really fun. It was even I'm referencing the Northern Territory a lot just because that was something that really blew my mind, that they don't have seasons, they have the wet and the dry.
Mhm.
They don't have summer, autumn, winter, spring, and not that that's a human choice, but just things like that. Or yeah, no, it's amazing when you go somewhere and something that is so mundane. I think it's nice. It sort of like resets you. It's like an electric shock to your humanity in a way, and kind of just like, oh yeah, we all decided different ways of how we're going to do life and what's important to us, depending where you are in the world.
Yeah. It's a good way to learn about people and then respect countries and cultures, just to see that, yeah, they're living their life very similar, but they like to do it their way. And it's just refreshing to see that everybody has a way of doing things in life. And it's cool to be a part of that for like 3 months, where you get to like be in that culture and see how they live.
Yeah, and it feels that it feels like just a real gift that you get to live multiple different lives in this industry, and you get
Yeah.
to see things, or you get to see environments or locations that maybe that's on private land, or you know just things, places you wouldn't ever get to see or experience, and then you get to work there and you get to go there with this group of people, ideally that you really like, um and work
Ideally, that
there,
you really like. You probably have
ideally.
sometimes where you're like, I don't like these
Fingers
people as
crossed.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is funny. It become your film. It can become, especially in your department, it can become such a family kind of thing. And I know definitely on Time Bandits, the other doubles, they became almost like my siblings, and we would
Yeah.
we would sort of bicker like siblings as well about things. You stood on my foot then, and just so silly. But then yeah, it's those relationships that are I look forward to seeing where they go, and then look forward to looking back on those times as well.
Yeah. So when does your song come out? Soon, you said? A couple
Yes,
weeks?
I would say in like 1 to 2 weeks.
All right. Well, everybody that's listening should go listen to the song when it comes out.
Yes,
Where is it going to be when it
it
comes
should
out?
be on sort of everything, Spotify, Apple Music, um, all of those sorts of platforms. It's called Swimming on a Spoon. Um, Swimming on a
Is it under
Spoon.
your name?
It's under Greta Claire. Claire is my middle name. There's already
Okay.
a band called Greta Van Fleet, and they're quite established. So
They're very good.
they're very good.
I photographed them when they were in Boston.
Did
And
you?
actually our producer, who works with us, she's a big fan, and I think she's met the band as well.
Oh,
So
I think they're so cool. But yeah, so I
they're
can't really come out with Greta Van Brink. I just feel like it's a little bit similar.
well, maybe you'll get traffic that way. You never
Maybe
know.
I'll get traffic. Somebody already tagged them in someone had shared that video of me going through the sand, and the page had tagged Greta Van Fleet, and I was like, okay,
Well, you never know. Maybe you'll do a collab at some point.
I know
That'd be
that
cool.
that would be effort. That would feel quite destined.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you'd like to leave the listeners with? Any advice on trying to become an actor, actress, stunt person? Is there any advice that you think you would leave anybody with?
I think it's such an incredible industry, but I think what I notice, I see it in myself and I see it in people that I work with, that it's really important to make sure that this is not the only place you find your worth, that, you're worthy, you're all good even if you're not on a job. I think it can be really the in-between moments, I think they can be made harder than they need to be. And yeah, being able to be fulfilled even when you're not on a job and finding things that you love. And they'll probably benefit you when you are on the job as well. But it's more the in-between times that I think are the moments that you need help with, whether it is you find something else that you love doing that keeps you whole and that you're not completely lost when you're not without the job. And then when you're on the job, um, Zoe Bell, she said having fun being a professional. And I really love that because there's so much fun, and to remember how cool it is to be here and be doing what you're doing. And being really good at what you do, being the best as you can at what you do is awesome. And then having fun doing it. And that's, I think, probably how you stay enjoying. You don't see a lot of bitter people in this industry. And I think now they're just being a professional and they've stopped having fun.
Yeah. I guess the moral is to just keep having fun.
I think that's all I've been saying today. Have fun.
That's good, though. I love that. Well, this is great. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. And we'll look out for the song. And the show that's coming out in October
Yeah, it's
is
called Territory.
Territory on
Yeah,
Netflix.
Territory.
So
Yeah.
check that out too. Thank you
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.